Hey there, I'm Kimberly, ADHD Mom of 3, entrepreneur, and your guide to the beautiful, messy journey of life. If you're a busy mom juggling it all, a woman in business trying to make it work, or just a woman looking for a space to grow and thrive, you're in the right place. This is the podcast where imperfection is celebrated and authentically is everything. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Amazing Beautiful You. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful day. If you're watching me on YouTube, it's hard to tell that it's a beautiful day because I'm in my basement, but that is okay because this is where I'm meant to do my podcast for now. Pretty much my whole business is run down here in my basement, and I have done a great job. Our basement is not the biggest, and I have done a great job of organizing it to fit my business down here. And yeah, I'm pretty impressed the way that I have my business set up down here. So my business is pure evergreen. So if you're looking for natural, sustainable products, or if you're interested in natural cleaning supplies, I do carry those in a natural product that I invented. So please be sure to check it out. pureevergreen.com. I would love your support. But I just thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I'm thankful for the listeners and the downloads. But something I wanted to jump on and talk about that I really feel is such a great, I don't know, like a great podcast to talk about is just talking about money, faith, finances, and like the truth about charging your worth. That's one thing that I have noticed over owning a cleaning company, just knowing your value and knowing your worth. So, and it's just so important to know these things when you are running a business, because there's times where we don't feel like we charge enough. But let's get into it, guys. I'm your host, and we're going to talk money and not just dollars and cents, but the deeper heart stuff that comes with it. The faith, the fear, and the guilt, and yes, the worth. So sometime along the way, we were told that it's selfish to want to earn well. And I am, in my 40s, and I just had always had that mindset, like, is it selfish that we need to give our money away, like we need to donate? And then charging your worth means you're greedy. And I've seen a lot of that when, running my cleaning business and just talking to so many cleaning companies. When I did another podcast, we would talk to so many different companies, and knowing to charge your worth, that is not greedy. And then that you can't be both financially and faithful, successful, which is wrong. So let's get started, you guys. Mama 3 and a little intro that I had put in there, but I have 3 golden retrievers, chickens. My life is chaotic. And those of you that have an autoimmune disease know what it's like. And I have been struggling hard with it for the last few days. I have fibromyalgia, so bear with me today because it has been rough the last couple days for me. So I've always struggled with the money part. Ever since I can remember, it's about saving money. My parents didn't have a lot of money growing up. I love them. I've learned a lot of just getting by skills. I've learned to, use thrift stores, which I love thrifting still to this day. And, we went to, food banks, which food banks are a great resource. And, we struggled. I'm not going to lie. I feel like we struggled. And I always had this bad outlook on money. And I think I still had this bad outlook to money till probably about a year ago. And now my thoughts are slowly changing. So my big thing was, I feel like sometimes faith and finances can collide. And as a Christian woman, I thought, well, this is my calling, so I'm meant to do this. So why should I charge for it? So I feel like I'm meant to serve and to help others. just like I own my cleaning business. And, I sometimes I wouldn't charge for some services because I felt like these people needed it. But here's the truth, you guys. God is so great. I love that God is just so great. And he's not intimidated by your income. He's not upset if you profit for your purpose. He actually delights in using your gifts well. And that includes stewarding them financially. So being a good steward of your money. And that's one thing I've always raised my kids is to be good stewards of faith in your money and to have different accounts for different things and budgeting. Like that's always been big. And I've always taught my kids, and I have three, and I've really watched my youngest, Ellie. I have watched her just blossom financially. She's got three accounts and she budgets like to a T. She took an accounting class, so she's really good with her money. And she just did a very big purchase. She has worked so hard and she does not like spending money on herself because she was saving for a newer car. And we went this past weekend to Denver to go look at a car for her. And that girl saved up over 9K to try to get a decent car. She wanted a car that was reliable from to and from work and school. And I'm so proud of her. Like it just excites me as a mom, knowing that, my husband and I did such a great job raising her and not only budgeting, but just really putting your money where you need to go. And I started that way back when they were little, that I would have, and this is something for younger moms. So if you're listening out there, this is a great idea. What I would do is I would get a cup, like I don't know, it could be any cup, a mason jar cup. And on the popsicle sticks, I wrote on the popsicle sticks, and this was something fun we did when they were really little. On the popsicle sticks, I did jobs. So wipe down doorknobs, and then it'd get 25 cents. But they have to wipe down all the doorknobs. Another one would be, let's see here, shake rugs and take the rugs out and shake them. And then I would put an amount. So on one side of the popsicle would be the job. And at the end of the popsicle will be the amount that they earned. And I had three kids. So you have to remember that with three kids, I didn't want them fighting over the job. So this is another reason why I had them pick popsicle sticks, because they couldn't fight over, who was what. But I had little jobs that were age appropriate jobs for each one of them. And it'd be something, just like on top of the lights, it'd be like wiping out light switches too. That was another one. But I loved it because they got the money and they would get paid. So during that time, and they were young, I can't believe how young they were, but I would teach them how to do an invoice. So I'd have them write on the sheet and they'd had to write down. And if they were super young, one of the siblings would help them or I would help them write it down. So I'd write down their job if they couldn't write, and I'd put the amount, and then write down the job, put the amount. And then we worked on math. So they started math at a very young age. This is a great tool for homeschoolers too, you guys. And what I did is we added it up and I said, okay, you need to invoice this to me. So they would have to give it to me and put it in my little box that I made for invoices. And then I would turn around and pay them. And then I talked about like how, okay, this is your money. This is where tithing needs to go. This part needs to go in savings. And, this part you can use for whatever you want to use it for. And we did a percentages. And, as they got older, then, obviously we didn't do popsicle sticks. But I am a big person on just, I guess, that you don't get paid to make your bed. So we don't get paid to make our bed, right? We don't get paid to make dinner. We don't get paid to wash the dishes. These are things that I always said as a mom, that you are expected of these things. These are things that are expected of you. So you're expected to clean your room. You're expected to make your bed. You're expected to do your laundry. I don't get paid for those. You don't get paid for them. So I call them above and beyond jobs. So anything above and beyond jobs. So anything that was like crazy, like vacuum out my car, outside would be pulling, like that was another one we put on the popsicle sticks. But as they got older, like pull, the weeds in the front yard. I wouldn't even have them count. So sometimes I'd say, okay, they need to pull like 60 weeds or something. And so, those were jobs that were expected of them, so they would get paid for those, but they were still responsible for getting their other jobs done. So we raised our kids financially with money and knowing what they needed to expect in putting away. And I talked to the kids even when they're younger, and I said, we're all gifted with something beautiful, and you are gifted with different things. But I said, you charge your value. So when they started going out on their own, because they wanted to make money, so they were like 12 and 13, they would go around to neighbors and ask to shovel snow when it was snowing or mow their lawns. And I said, you need to charge your worth and don't let them haggle your price. So if they start talking you down, you say, no, this is what I charge and I value my work. And I love that because now I look at my teenagers, I look at, my two younger ones. He's 20 and my youngest daughter is 18. And I love that because they negotiated their jobs and their pay, and they said why they did think that they needed this money, like why they feel valued. And I love that. So they walked away. So, that's just so important. So knowing that your gift that you have is all about value too. So don't walk away with feeling like, you've walked away with nothing. It's your purpose, but you can charge with what your purpose is and the value. So some people are like, well, it's greedy if you don't, if you're not charging, like, is it greedy? Like, am I asking too much? No. When I ran a cleaning business, my prices were not normal prices. A lot of cleaning companies at the time were charging right around $35 an hour per person. And then, for me, I factor out square footage. So I looked at the house and took in all the factors like, okay, well, they've got extra dogs. That's more time, that's more hair for me to clean. And if there were floors, that means I would have to go and vacuum all the floors and then come back and mop versus just vacuuming if it was carpet. So I factored in a lot of things about knowing my charges. And I made sure that I added, all my taxes, and I added my supplies, which was easy because, I invented a cleaning product and it cleaned everything. So it was only 4 supplies. But I valued my employees and I valued my pay. So for me, that value was my worth. So a lot of these companies were charging right around 35. So I would be charging between $50 to $80 an hour per person. And I would get people that would be like, that's crazy. That's, I'm not paying that. And I said, that's fine. I said, we really value our work. We take pride in our work. We specialize with natural products and we specialize with attention to detail. So that was a big thing that we had to really put into place. And there'd be times where it was funny because I would be like, okay, I'm like, I wouldn't, they're like, well, can you go down this much? And I said, I'm sorry, this is my business. And, there's no negotiating for prices. And believe it or not, I would have some of these people call me back and they would schedule us. And they said they really liked how we valued ourselves. So if you're running a business out there, really value yourself, look at your prices, look at where you stand. Why do you value yourself? Why do you value your business? It doesn't just come from your price, but remember that being a value just honors like your time, because your time is valuable, your energy, and just like people will respect that. So, you're charging the value for the hours that you've invested. So all those hours that you put in the back end of investing in your business, like trainings, how much have you paid for trainings? Just, learning and having to do all the back end of this stuff, computer stuff, emails, systems in place. So think about that. The sacrifices, there's been many sacrifices that I've had to do in my business to grow, and it sucks, but I'm in a place now where that I can grow and I'm comfortable. And yes, I'm not making millions of dollars, but I'm okay with that because I'm happy where I'm at. And if God wants me to blossom and bloom and grow even more, then, it's going to happen. But I look at just the impact that I'm creating in my business and even the impact that I made in not only people around me when we cleaned houses, but now as a business owner for Pure Evergreen, I have most of my my products, you can buy and they're online and I ship to them, or you can come pick them up. I do some events, but I've created friendships. I have created relationships. I have created an education system. So I'm educating these people on their home and what's toxic in their home. And many people don't even realize like how many things are toxic in their own home and why they're sick all the time. So, I've been able to help these families, and it's been a blessing knowing that the price I charge for my products are not just a product. So you're not just getting a product. So you're not just getting a 32-ounce cleaner. You're getting high quality oils. You're getting, a pure, clean product. You're getting nice labels that have, the layout. People don't realize that I have to buy paper and boxes and tape, that I have to buy the papers that go in them and the supplies, and not to mention labels. And I got to pay for my back end for my Shopify fees. And it goes on. Like there's just a lot of fees. So even though you think that you're spending, $55 on this product and you're like, man, this is expensive. No, when you break it down and you take away all that stuff that I have to buy and the value that I put into this, then I can walk away knowing humbly that I'm charging my worth and I'm charging to cover my expenses and paying for wonderful people to come work for me. So, you're charging so that your business can sustain and grow, that you can show up as a mother, a wife, a CEO without burnout. And, if you're starting to feel that burnout, take a step back. Where do you need to reevaluate? So, and that's something that I had to do a couple weeks ago. I had to take a step back because I was feeling burnout. And the burnout was events. And so I've really decreased the amount of events that I do, and I'm feeling better. And I know that God is going to provide, and I know that He's going to bring me customers, and that I'm trying to be obedient and honor Him during this time so I do not get burnout. So you're allowed to be paid well and walk humbly. You're allowed to build wealth and still serve generously. I feel that, my time has allowed me to do podcasts, and I'm very thankful that I'm able to do podcasts. Granted, they're not perfect like some of these other podcasts. I've seen some of these podcasts and they are phenomenal, the way they have such a cool intro, and then they have commercials and they've got sponsors, and then they've got, the exit, and they've got great editing software. But I'm starting from ground zero. I'm starting all over again. I did a podcast in the past and I walked away after 77 episodes and I started my own. And that's something that has really humbled me and taught me not to be bitter, but I'm starting over. And, when you start over, you got to start from scratch and you got to work your way up and build. So I'm still eventually will build wealth with my podcast, and I still get to serve people. You're allowed to stop apologizing for pricing your products or services. So like I said before, I price my products and everybody was like, well, this is expensive. Well, you're not getting no Fabuloso, people. I'm sorry. You're getting a good quality natural product. So you're going to pay for your product and you'll see in the end the benefits. And I'm not going to apologize for my pricing. I've had people complain about just the shipping. They're like, I can't believe I'm paying this much for shipping. I don't have a choice in that. You pay the shipping. I don't get to choose the prices for shipping. But when you need to stop apologizing for your prices and your services. So if somebody's haggling you about your price, no, you stand firm on your price. You stand firm on your price. And if your prices are too low, raise them. And I'm going to say it again, like I've told other people in the industry and businesses, that you need to raise your prices, because you're going to get the people that will love you for you, your products, and your quality, and they're willing to pay that. So if they're choosing not to pay that, then they're not your customers. So when you raise your prices and you lose some customers, they weren't your customers. They are not your customers because they don't respect that you need to make this amount of money and that you need to raise your prices. You will get new customers. You will get customers that will respect you and value for your time, your products, and services. So I want you to remember that. I want to say it again, you guys. You are worthy of income, even if you are serving in a place of passion. These pastors have a passion to speak. Authors, I've seen speakers. They write and they speak. And I love that they have so much passion and they charge their tickets. Their tickets are not cheap when I go listen to these speakers, but they're getting paid for something that they're very passionate about and they're knowing their value and worth. And again, they have expenses that they have to cover. So let me just say it again. You are worthy of income, even if you're serving from a place of passion. I hope you guys are remembering this. So mind shifts for like the Christian business women. So I always think of mind shifts that I've had to walk through. And I just want to pass some along for you. Profit is not a dirty word. I used to think, man, I'm making a profit, but I really need to give and give and give and give and this and this and this. And I've learned to really set up boundaries on what I need to give. Profit is not a dirty word. I used to think that. It's a tool for good. It gives you options. It creates like an impact and it fuels your mission. So profit can fuel your mission of what you're wanting to do. I want to write a book. I want my podcast to have more growth. And I want to be able to afford somebody to help me get it on YouTube and TikTok and, you know, all these social media platforms. And so by me making profit, then I could turn around and do better for my mission and my goal. And that is to reach out to women that maybe have a chaotic life and they've got a family and they've got kids, or you're just a woman in life and you're just trying to navigate your way through this crazy life and you have chaos and you're not sure and you're not understanding and you're still figuring out who you are. Then that is my mission, is to reach out to these women. And I do speak my passion about Christ. And I love everybody and I don't judge. And I'm so thankful for the people that follow me, even in my moments of speaking about Christ, because I'm not ashamed of speaking about Christ. He has done some amazing things in my business. I can understand things better now versus when I couldn't see the clearer picture. But now that I'm walking with Christ, even more so now, and I'm in his word, I'm able to see why he does what he does. And sometimes we don't always understand it at the moment, but he makes it clear. Free is not always holy. So free can be a blessing. I will say that. I love free things, but when you walk away not feeling valued, if you give away something for free all the time, you're going to start feeling it. There's some things that I've given away for free, and like my advice for business and growth. And I walked away feeling like I gave too much and I didn't charge for my expertise. I went to classes and I learned and I invested in myself and I paid for all these things. Wisdom, you guys, is in knowing and which is appropriate and is sustainable. So knowing what you need to charge for and what you don't need to be charged for. God doesn't ask you guys to serve broke. He asks you to serve boldly. And I love that, because sometimes the boldest thing you can say to yourself is, this is my price. This is what I charge. This is my worth. This is your value. And I was kind of thinking about it. Grab some water. I was thinking about it. There's people out there that maybe want to charge McDonald's prices, or maybe they want to charge, a fancy Red Robin burger. I'm trying to think of burger wise. And that's maybe how they run their company. And so you could choose what you want to value, but we serve different people. So you may serve, different levels of people, and that's okay. You're meant to serve where you're supposed to serve in your business. And I serve families that want products that are natural. I serve cleaning companies that want a good quality product that saves them money in training when they train and is natural for everything. And not only for them, it helps their cleaners so they're not coughing and inhaling all that stuff, along with clients and customers. Maybe their customers have cancer, or maybe they have an autoimmune disease like me, and they can't handle the toxics, like toxic cleaners. And not only are they helping their staff they're helping their customers. And so they know that they're going to pay my price for my product, but they know that it's worth it not only for them, but for their customers. So when God asks you to serve, he asks you to serve boldly and still say that this is your price. This is what you charge. And you may not get everybody, but that's okay. Those people weren't meant for you. Generosity flows easier when you're not in survival mode. I think I needed to hear this. I feel like there's times where I'm in survival mode. When my husband had cancer, I was in survival mode, y'all. I'm not lying. I was in survival mode when he had to take a leave from work for over 10 months. Not only was I cleaning, like running my cleaning business, but I was working on Pure with my products and trying to take care of a family and kids. And I was in survival mode. And there was times I remember I was like, had to take a step back from cleaning because I couldn't be out cleaning from 7:38 in the morning after I dropped off the kids to school till, going to pick them up and then dropping them off at home and then going back and cleaning until 7 o'clock at night. I just couldn't do it. And then I would get home and I would work on Pure till midnight. So, that's just, don't make it to the point where you're just exhausted. I know that you can't be in survival mode. You can't have your cup filled when you're in survival mode. Are you able to give a little bit? Tithe, serve, bless others. It multiplies when your business is thriving. So this year, my business was slow. We had a lot of things just happen last summer, and I'm okay with that because I couldn't see the bigger picture, and now I could. Now I can stand back and be like, okay, that's why you did that, God. And I was able to sponsor a lot of good companies that I really love and believe in. This year, I couldn't because my company took such a huge hit from last year that, this starting quarters that I couldn't do that. And I had to take a step back from that. I still tithe and I still bless others, but I do it differently. And I serve more in the community versus bigger places. And that's okay. This is where I'm at. And when my business is thriving, then I'm going to do a little bit more. But I'm thankful and blessed to where I'm at now. Proverbs 31:16 says she considers a field and buys it out of her earnings. So she's got her earnings. She plants a vineyard. I was thinking this lady knows her worth. A vineyard back then, even now still is such a good profit. She considers a field, a woman did, and she buys it out of her earnings that she had saved. She plants a vineyard and it's going to grow and be fruitful. So, sis, if you guys are like my friends, my beautiful ladies, if you're scared to raise your prices, if you felt guilty for making money while others were struggling, or if you just downplayed your value just to make a sale, this is your sign, you guys. God didn't place that calling in you so you could stay small. I feel like he gives us a gift. He gives us a gift and that we're to use it and bless others. It's okay to profit with a purpose. You agree? I'm big on that. I am so big on that. Do not be afraid to raise your prices, you guys. Price your worth. Look at your blessings around us. If you are feeling like, oh, I don't feel blessed, today's not a blessing. I talked about this in my past podcast. Find those little blessings. My blessing yesterday was my business was slow. And yes, I still had a ton of things to do around the house, but I didn't feel good. And my body was depleted and in pain. And I took that opportunity to rest. And that's so important because my cup could be full for today. So let your business be a vessel. Let your income be a reflection on the impact you are making. Let your life be a living proof that faith and finances can coexist beautifully. I hope that I reminded you today that you don't have to choose between a heart and a hustle, between faith and financial freedom, you guys. But here's your permission slip. Price your worth. Steward your blessings. Serve with boldness and charge with confidence. You got this, ladies. You got this. And if you feel blessed today, share it with another woman in business that needs to hear this, and tag me at Amazing Beautiful You podcast. And let's just break these money mindsets together. I appreciate you listening, and be sure to check out my products. You are amazing. You are beautiful. You are worthy, and you are called to thrive. Until next time, my beautiful friends, and jump onto our next podcast, and we'll see you on my next podcast. Thank you, ladies. I'm Kimberly. Have a great day. Bye.